Welcome everybody. This is Auspicious here with Face the Conclave. We are streaming. We're living our stream. We are streaming our live mock selection. We are going to have a 3D map up with the section of the map generated by our good friend and High Elder of Knowledge Utogi. Switching over that real quick here. They're going through their introductions right now, and we're going to be going through and letting you as viewers, you as viewers to know what's going on, what's happening. So those of you who are listening, we're doing our best to make sure that everything fits in line. As we broadcast live the mock land selection, and we'll be working with everybody to make sure that this goes through smoothly. So bear with us if there's any annoyances or technical difficulties, but we've got myself, Auspicious, we have Lodrig, the Chancellor of Iskar, Corleone, a Aratarian, and Ambriel Flowers, another Aratarian, who will be joining in and really giving some perspective, some taste on what's going on, what the choices the counts make, and all this other stuff. So what you're seeing right now on the stream is the 3D recreation that our High Elder Utogi has created, and he's put some good hours here. So if you ever get a chance to thank or recognize Utogi for the work that he puts into this community, I definitely recommend that you go through and do that. Corleone, Lodrig, Flowers. I know Flowers is having some technical difficulties. If you guys are here, could you just give me a big hello?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Corleone here.
Hey, you want to try pulling me in there?
I just want to say hi to folks.
Perfect, we'll do Flowers.
Shall we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, no, go through. I mean, this is an open mic kind of situation right now, so
Okay.
definitely go through and let us know.
Okay.
Well, going on some of the stuff that we're looking at here right now, Auspicious, it looks like Duchess Elyrian is going to be going up first, and she gets to have 7 picks here. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe 7 picks.
I thought it was 6.
Let's go through. We've got count summaries for each one of these counts, the Duchess included, and hopefully we've got some information there that can kind of give us a little bit more. So the Gradier Elysia, that's Duchess's county right there. I don't have the specific number of counties available to Duchess at the moment, but I do believe it is 6. You're right, Lodrig.
Okay, well, let's have to update that real quick. But so looking at some of the information and just knowing some of the things she's talked about before, she thinks she's going to be pushing she's going to centralize inside the land here, or is going to try to push out towards neighboring duchy?
I expect.
Yeah. I mean, the leader should be in the center, or should they be on the side? Where do they decide? Where would you expect a leader of the community, a duchess, a person who needs to be protected? If it was myself, I'd stick myself right in the center.
Well, looking at this right now, I'm just saying that there's 2 ways that you can go about it. If you're just trying to be everywhere, why not spread your picks out, right? And then have like little county hubs everywhere and decentralize that and have, chancellors run those places. That's my opinion take on if you wanted to centralize it or anything like that. But centralization isn't bad either. What do you think there, Iskar?
I think, isn't there a requirement that they be contiguous? So she can't actually break up and scatter all over the place, which was a common thing in real medieval feudal, duchy landholdings. But the rules constrain, I think, you to pretty much keep it all contiguous. And my guess would be that you're going to get something central, but you're also going to actually try to get a strip that goes across so that you have basically all the trade comes through you. You can get a little trade monopoly going.
Yeah, maybe going for like a high circumference. You want a lot of surface area to touch other counties, other areas, that sort of thing.
That's possible too. You could get like kind of a octopus kind of thing going on.
Yeah, no. And so if viewers, you're looking at this map, we basically selected this map. The High Elder Council went through and tried to take everything that the counts were looking for and choose something that would be similar to what Duchess was looking for or would be looking for in a duchy. So we selected these three duchies right here that have some coastline, have an interior lake, and through some speculation, we were really thinking at like a 29, 30, 37 maybe, right on the side of that coastal lake, but in the center of the three duchies. Like what Iskar Corlon, sorry, Lodric Corlon. What do you think about that as a central location? That would give her access to the lake. That would give her access to the different sections of the counties, the borders.
What section are you talking about here? If you got a number associated to it?
Yeah, so if you take a look at the 3D map, we've numbered them 1 through 60 some, or maybe it's 1 through 70. So we're looking at
72.
Yep, 72 there. Yep. So I'm looking at like ID number 28, 29, 30, 31, 27. Was the kind of thing that from the Elder Council, we were thinking that makes a good central location for the Duchess's place. Now, of course, if they're going to make
Yeah.
those selections or not, we don't know.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of being on the lake because the lake is fully surrounded by Vornir-friendly territory in this hypothetical map because there is an entire world map associated with this little chunk we've got here. That is that lake on the right-hand side, if you're watching the map, landlocked, other friendly duchies around it. That means it's a lot safer versus if you're on the coast, there's unfriendly Kingdom number 3, which would be outside of Vornir, just a little down the coast there. So you're literally a few minutes away on boat. You don't want the capital to get raided by enemy ships.
Well, I could probably get behind that. Again, everything right now is situational, depending on who's on the other side of that lake. But there's another, I guess, avenue that could be approached from this by putting it up right up to. Sorry about that. She can, if you look on the map up there towards, I'd say like 49, 61, 67. Right, that still has access to rivers and location, but it also has the defensive, backing for all the mountain range. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thinking central to the kingdom and not not necessarily central to the duchy and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it might be closer to an ally, depending on, like, again, let's say if we're deep in kingdom territory, it won't matter as much. But yeah, I mean, there could be well, it's hard to look at right here on this model, but if you look back here around the mountain range, a lot of rivers there, and if we're pushed, if such puts her counties backed up against the mountain range, it's going to give her a lot of access to for her county have access to, like, mining and everything like that, but also have access to the rivers so they can ship things down river. You know what I'm saying? So still have the economic presence there, and have the has the river access. I don't know. I just think that would also just be a wise decision to put up against mountain range for defensive position and for trade reasons.
Yeah, I've seen some
I
people
think
talk
the
about
river-
it with the rivers and trades to even go down the river into the lake and then cross over the little bit of land there to the ocean, for sending out trading items and things.
Yeah. It would be actually really nice to have the capital along one of those major rivers. I think there's at least 3, maybe 4 major rivers that go into that lake, draining out the most of the top half of the maybe top 2/3 of that conclave territory.
So sorry to interrupt right here. We've got some concerns from our viewers about not being able to see the specific numbers. I'm piggybacking off of a stream from Utogi. As they make their decisions, he's going to zoom in, zoom out with the map that you guys are seeing through the stream to try to give a little closer, a little farther. I can't make it any larger at the moment. I'll try to make some adjustments on the fly, but try to be patient with us here. And stuff like that. So I'll try to make it a little bigger for our viewers, but do expect it to change. It is a dynamic map at the moment. The 3D version we're seeing. They're wrapping up the codes of, how the mock selection is going to go, and the things that we're thinking about through it, and how this is gonna impact the greater community as a whole, and those sort of things. So we should be seeing Duchess's picks for her 7-6 counties very quick here, and then we'll move forward to the other things. But I will try to make an update for the map to make it pull it bigger, and that sort of thing as we go on.
Yeah, I think maybe in the initial map, if those numbers had been a little bigger, that might have been helpful, because I found it hard to see the numbers even when we were examining the map ourselves internally.
I might have a fix for that. Let's see.
And I'm sure whenever Duchess goes in and puts her stuff down, there'll be a zoom up on the counties that she's going to be in, so we get a good look at the resources that it's going to have access to. Oh, look at that.
And of course,
beautiful.
Yeah, and of course, everyone is drafting in, what would you say, the influence order. Yeah. So it's as realistic as possible in that regard. So naturally, the Duchess goes first.
All right, picking starting. All right. So right now they're trying to figure out a few things right now. The selection's about ready to start. Something else to talk about before they actually start placing things. So we are assuming that this mech selection here, we are surrounded by friendly duchies, correct?
Yeah, more or less. Right now, the three duchies that we have chosen, the Kingdom of Ornair has 2 kingdoms technically, and there's a large volume of duchies associated with it. Right now, as we're looking at it, and here I'll switch to a quick slide that shows the major map at the moment. And this really shows just a quick scroll of the continent that we were using, that we're associating with. And as we scroll down, the big mountainous region that we're seeing at the beginning of this section here is associated with kingdoms 1 and 2. At least the way that we broke up the borders. Hrothi, Broodveer, Naren, settlements with maybe some Turesk off on the coastal areas. But yeah, no, the map is more or less currently, or the duchies that we're looking at, the 3, are more or less surrounded by friendlies, or what we consider mostly friendlies. We do share a border in this current layout with 1 hostile kingdom, and that is on the southern side.
Right. So, I'm curious. I think the big thing for me in this pick, while a lot of them are going to be interesting, obviously, is how our military-focused counts are going to be picking. Because if we're so deep, I think that our number 1 goal for military is going to have to be going for water, right? Wrong the corner of the coast there at 8, 7, 6, and 5. I think that's going to be the main go-to for the military individual.
I think you're going to get 2 things. I think you're going to get, obviously, any offensive naval action on the small coastline portion, and then land forces in the area behind that, where the neck comes up. Because because that's really the only avenue in for any overland force that's opposing us. I think on the opposite end of the lake there is another neck, but it's much, much narrower, and it would be some other duchy's job to cover that. But Eritar is at that neck point, and then there is another friendly duchy a little to the west. You can see it borders the Conclave on the south, and it also borders the other kingdoms. So we have a three-way point where they all meet. That duchy will almost certainly have to be very defensive because it's going to be entirely along the kingdom border. I wouldn't be surprised if Adam himself picked something like that. There's been some indication that he may feel he needs to pick the front line, so to speak, and get everyone in the rear because he's the king. But we'll see.
I can understand that. Looks like
Yeah. So we've got
Looks
the Duchess selections coming in here, and if you're looking at the screen right now, that's going to be at a 38, 37, 36, 46, 45, and 44. So that's 6 duchies right there. There's some conversations about, so communities build a lot of relationships between each other, and not all those relationships have the same amount of IP. The Soulbound Studios is enforcing an IP-based kind of pick order. We've done some slight modification of that with our pick order, but more or less, when we have people that are not necessarily on the same page and not necessarily at the same IP level, what's that going to mean? So that's a conversation that's happening with our counts right now, and that's some of the dynamic that really comes into picking these areas, deciding where they can pick, where they can consider. But we had Duchess there with 45, 44, 37, 38, 36, and 46. Very close to where we were talking about earlier.
yeah, it looks like she
I
definitely
really like that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying I really like that. It's got the river, it's got the cross cutting across, so it's pretty much, other than 47, which is a mountain county, all flat land travel pretty much would have to go through her territory.
Now, and also not to mention, it still has, it has pretty, like I'd say probably the best access to that lake there, and also it has several waterways that are coming from the mountain range through it as well. So I don't think there will be any shortage of, I guess, mineral supplies at the very least coming through her picks there.
Yeah, so I guess that river is going to be the Etherian River.
Yes, we're looking at that was a 15, wasn't it?
I mean,
now who's that for?
So that's a Tiberius Simultrium. Very Roman based. Do check out the Face the Conclave with Count Tiberius if you want to know more. And he was looking at 15 and a few others, but that whole line 14, 13, 16, 17, that's like a low hilltop as we transition from a stable, a more plains-like environment to the mountains to the north there. So Tiberius is looking, he's got a lot of cares. He cares a lot about, I'll pull up his summary here. He cares a lot about the border protection, border control, and that sort of thing, So he's got a few mayors, a few barons associated with him. We don't have him on the slide, obviously, but he was really looking for some coastline, some alpine forest. I think that's why he's choosing that 15 there. Gives him a little bit of both.
He does know that's a lake, right?
Being the second largest IP holder, he's consolidating into one county, right?
He does have, let's see, Simultrium has made some associations.
He's listed as a twin.
Okay, what I don't understand though is that his big push was border defense. Great, he's on the border, but if his main focus was military, why would he not try to pick access to the ocean instead of a little gulf there that's just kind of locked in? I mean, why couldn't he have picked one? One would have a lot more access to the border if his focus was border defense, and have access to the ocean. Do you think it was just too much?
No, I think Tiberius has a mind for a bigger picture in this case. Like he's looking for defense, he's looking for a border access, some coastline, and that's a very big lake there. Let's remember, in order to ride or walk across the county, Soulbound Studios expects at least 2 hours of walking time for these size areas. So they're expecting these counties to be very large, very big. But we're starting to get behind here. But I think he's looking for the bigger picture there, because as we had just talked to Blob, Lycon Forest, and we'll pop them up real quick, was looking at counties. What was it? 11, 12, 3, 2, looking for those coastal, and we see with the Seawolf Naval Works. Seawolf Naval Works that he's really looking for. He's really looking for some coastal access, and then once again, there's a big contingent of PvPers with the Lycon Forest group, and they're going to be looking for that that PvP access, and I think that's what came up in those areas is really looking for that aspect of defense, that coastal access, and that's what came into that. A little bit of nudging on my part, at the very least.
Right. Auspicious, if you can look in chat real quick. So this is something that they have discussed on a meta, right?
What was that? Can you repeat that, please?
So like you're talking about how they are connecting, how the military counties or counts has been kind of discussing on more of a meta level. So their picks are all more or less orchestrated, right?
Yeah, no, they're very meta picks. They're large scale defense strategy kind of things. The communities around those groups are really looking for, a community, B, a play style, but the biome, the different specifics that, like we're gonna see Iskar later on, and they're very heavy on the Hrothy, the dwarf, the mountainous things. That's not what Tiberius and Blob necessarily are looking for, but they do play into things, but I view them as higher thinkers in terms of what works good for the duchy, what works good for their communities as well. And we're getting a little far behind here, but we had we had insight.
Look at all that lakefront being grabbed up.
Well, if you see who's picking it, you got 55. Spot 55 is picked by Fairster. You have spot 41 by Larry. 38 is by the Duchess. 28 by Insight, and 22 is by Insight. These are all very much people who are surrounding commerce. They're all trade oriented. So that lakefront is being snatched up, and I guarantee you, the moment that this game releases, wherever we do get situated in place, wherever that water is, they're going to rush to it in droves and control those waterways. I guarantee that's the first thing to happen.
Yeah, that reminds me of Haven and Hearth, giant sandbox MMO, survival kind of thing. Very open world, very almost reminiscent here of COE in certain regards, and you could build yourself boats, just like a rowboat, and scoot down the waterways, little streams that were randomly generated, all web-like, so they didn't even drain into an ocean. And they were the highways of the game. You wanted to use them, but they were also dangerous because, everyone who wanted to kill you was also going to come down that river. So there were two strategies. Be on a river and be strong, or be a hermit way the hell away from a river.
Well, come in with something that's a little bit different. Ruthgar coming in at square 24. His focus is on resource gathering, like gathering, what was that, trees? He wants to gather some trees and plants and farm. So that's a little bit different than what we've been seeing here. He's
that's our first
doesn't really have a whole lot of. Yeah, that's the first landline right there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, I don't know. I would say that's probably a, if you look at it, okay, so if you look at everybody else here, they're all along the water, so they don't have necessarily a lot of good ability to farm on that. I imagine some of that's going to be kind of wet or not going to be necessarily the best climate to be farming in. But if you look at Rithgar right there, he's got a lot of land to farm. It looks like he has a little bit of forest to go on there too. But his major problem is that he doesn't have any access to a waterway. Doesn't look like, not at least not very much.
He might have a little bit of access to a river that runs between 24, 26, 27, and 22. I think that's a river right there. It's forming the border.
It looks like there's a couple
border.
little rivers in 24.
Yeah.
That kind of go along with the 27 and 28 down that way.
No, I got you. But
Yeah,
at the very least, though, sorry, go ahead.
Huge. Can you really get resources down rivers? That's really going to be a big key. And can you get them back up the rivers? Some rivers are like, you can put things on them and float them down river, but trying to get it back up, really hard.
So things are. I don't want to cut you off too much, but I'm going to pull us back forward. Things are moving really quick here. We had a slew of people who made decisions in the beginning of this map selection, and now we've reached the point where we're taking a second for TJ to reconsider his decisions. Like he had just said, the things that he was looking at initially have been taken, and now he's got to look back at that map. As we get to map selection and we have people take things that we've been keeping our eyes on, there's going to always be these constant shifting of priorities. So I threw up TJ's slide for his county Bela before, but I just want to, pull us back into the current. There's been a lot of economic talk. There's a lot of economic indicators here. People are pulling up good things, like you're saying, up the river, down the river. How do you move things around? How do you find the good resources? But yeah.
Yeah, it's looking like TJ decided on 40 there, by the lake there.
There's precious little lake coast, only, 56 at the very corner, 39. And maybe 21? I guess 29 as well would count.
Yeah, 29 connects just a little bit there.
And you know exactly
it's
what
almost
this tells
more on
me.
the riverfront, yeah.
Yeah, you know what this tells me right here is that these individuals are not at all whatsoever. This goes into tandem what you brought up earlier. They're not interested in resource gathering. They're interested solely in the buying and selling of resources and the movement of them. Because if you cannot, and it makes sense that you can't just it's really hard to get things up the river, obviously. So they don't really have a whole lot of access to much of anything down there. They have access to waterways, ports, and all that stuff. They're going to have to rely on individuals to take up all those areas up in 61, 67, 71, even up there in 72. Up there in that top little corner, they're going to have to rely on people to ship down their minerals. They're going to run into a lot of problems, though, if people just stay away from those areas and they're not resource gathering.
Well, I think we're going to be good in the mountains. There's a big group of Harathi counts that are kind of in the middle of the pick order, and when they start landing, you're going to see that north swath go, all at once.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I'm just. That's what I'm hoping. It just seems like we're going to run into some serious fundamental problems here if we're super trade oriented. We've got nothing to trade though.
And I think
we just had to pick on 33.
33, and that's
Bulk and Bowl.
Yep, Bulk and Bowl. And you bring up your concern about resources, and I think Soulbound Studios is doing a really good job, or they intend to do a really good job, about everything being more or less, very unique. Having unique resources in different areas, having very unique areas to be able to pull resources into and to. So there may not be the sheer bulk of metals that the mountains have, or the sheer amount of woods.
There they go.
Sheer amount of woods that other areas have, but you're gonna see it. And they're like you just said.
Yeah, 61, 67 just got picked up. Oh, we have Balrog coming in on 67 and 61. He's wanting those sweet minerals.
Yeah, he was particularly interested in that peak on the western flank of those two counties. That looks to be like the highest mountain possibly on the continent. and he wants to have a tower up at the top of it.
Well, I mean, I can understand that from, from several different perspectives. But if you look out past there, it looks like it's uninhabitable land past that. It just looks like all mountain range.
I think
Yeah,
that
so in
area
that
to
case,
the other
then they wouldn't have to worry too much
I
about
guess
others
not-
coming in and different things.
it's hard to see on this map, but the spot right where 49 and 61 meet on the edge of the map is it's a natural mountain pass. So there's a low spot in the mountain right there. Probably going to be a good spot for accessing that friendly duchy on the other side, which I'm suspecting might, and hypothetically, be something like Stormlands, Amaroth. There's a couple of other Vornare duchies that would actually be interested in a heavy mountain plateau-like area like that.
All right, looks like we have a couple people coming in, picking up 21, 28, and 31 and it just looks like pretty much all the coast is done. We have 2 spots, 56, 39. Those are the only 2 spots that are really left available. And it looks like people are following behind those lakeside counties and just kind of filling in right behind them.
Yeah, and we're getting nothing though on the actual ocean coast. I mean, I'm starting to hope it doesn't go undefended at this rate.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see how everyone wants to be on the lake, but not on the ocean front very much. A lot safer,
Now-
but still having water.
We got the long anticipated pick of Iskar here. I wonder where they're gonna go.
Well, we actually have an interesting situation in Iskar with 7 mayors with us, and only 1 actual official county. We have to usurp at least 1, possibly 2 NPC counties right away. And we'll do this by placing our mayors in them and just having them overthrow the local NPC count. And the plan is to do that in 71 and 72, creating a cluster right there for Iskar around Mount Iskar, which is that thing right at the intersection of them all.
Yeah, no, that I think that expansionist like approach is gonna be a trademark of Iskar. You've got quite a few community members inside your county there, and they're gonna need places to eat, sleep, and mine. So, that northern pick with the county and the mountains like you have, I think that's gonna play very well into your growth potential as a county.
Yeah, it's as far as compared to others, it's a good problem to have, that you don't have enough space and you have to expand rather than not have enough to fill out your ranks right now. I imagine that coming up here in after map selection, especially, we're going to see a huge push from all communities on trying to fill out their mayor roles in all those positions as well.
Yes, yeah. Now, speaking of expansion, we've always anticipated that there would be enough space in the Conclave for counts to take a second county, things like this. But a lot of people are positioning themselves in such a way that there's no space. They're hemmed in, lots of empty space. So people are not really positioning themselves well for their own expansion later.
So they're looking for they are and are not. I would say it's really hard to set yourself up in a good position in a later picks and still try to snag waterfront. It is very apparent to us that waterfront properties, look, they just snagged up there's 39 left. There's the last one. They just snagged up 56. So waterfront property is definitely the number 1 priority for individuals inside the Conclave. So if you get these later picks, it's hard to set yourself up and get that waterfront property.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll be this thing where people all draft the waterfront, but then they expand to the rear. So if these counties were structured in such a way that it's like you get the beachfront, then you get the block behind the beach, so we can all expand in the same direction without and kind of end up narrow, little townhouse-like structure.
Oh yeah. Well, here, if you look at 26 and 27 right now, okay, so they got everybody at 31, 25, 24, 23, 22, and 28. Just completely circling in 26 and 27. Do you think there's going to be kind of conflict over that whenever expansion does come in?
That starts to get tricky. That's why I would like when doing these kind of drafts is almost to say this is my starting county. This is my intended expansion county. I kind of draft your expansion at the same time.
Well, I think the things we
To
have to
make it
consider with
clear.
with 26 and 27
Where you going.
especially, sorry, with 26, 27, I mean, so that's Etheria, High Elder Utogi's counties. And he's really not looking for an expansionist view. He wants to kind of get his little home base and then focus on research. Like everything's internal for that count, and having strong allies around his county. I think he's doing that on purpose.
Wait, I thought Utogi was 47.
He's in 47. We're talking about the 26 and 27.
Oh, my mistake. Who's in 26, 27?
There's no one there at the moment.
It's empty. But around it, you got 31, 25, 24. So who's in that? And 23 and 28.
So we got Raskar. What's 23? We have 23. We have Lulus or Lulz. We got 25. We've got Jodri. We've got 23 with 23, 24, 25, 31. 31 is Kosh. 28 is Insight. And 22 is Insight as well. So Insight's got 2 bordering counties on there. And then the rest are single individuals. So that may be a nice little
count drop.
Yep, there it is. Yep. See now, right there, perfect. Number 50. Who just placed that? We got Fergus that placed number 50, and he has got space on all sides of him to expand, and he's got access to a little bit of anything. He's got a little pizza pie kind of cut county there. It seems like it's got overall total less land mass, but he has access to a little bit of everything right there.
Yeah, he specifically, because I think he doesn't have any mayors at this point, he wanted to go for something a little smaller. It was more his size, not bite off what he could chew.
Well, I would say that that's definitely the right choice to pick because he also just has a little bit of everything, too. He's got a little bit of water. He's got a little bit of stone. Looks like he's got a little bit down there in that bottom corner, some forest access there. So, I mean, I'd say it's a really diverse kind of county to pick.
Who got that 62 pick there? That's the first one that's kind of been up in that northern empty zone now.
Let's see. How do you say his name? Kaizon? Yeah, I think it's Kaizon's in the 62 right there. And that looks like it looks like another transitional kind of county. It looks like it might have a little bit of access to stone. I can't really tell in that top corner there. But let's see what else we going on. Looks like we got a pick on 14.
14 is an interesting pick. You know, that's another PvP border pick. You know, you recognize the individuals who really are looking for that physical conflict rather than the economic conflict or other things. As the locations.
We finally got some on the coast. Who picked 8 there?
Oh snap! 8 was by Tor Ameri. Interesting pick. Let's pull up a little data sheet on. And this is the 3 main focuses: research, religion, then military, in that order right there. So it's a very interesting pick to be
coastal there to you.
Well, I mean, I don't think any kind of the one thing I would say he's got research and religion as the top 2 picks of his 3 main choices, right? And while religion would be good if he was at the top of a riverway or across from a lake, that would help spread the religion a little bit better, I would think. Research-wise, also the same thing. That way, in case he needs supplies, workers. I guess he is at the bottom of a river, like towards the end of the river before it hits in the ocean. So he might be able to get individuals to come down there, travel if he needs supplies. So it's not necessarily a bad pick for that.
Yeah.
But
I don't think that river goes anything deeper than into 9, the adjacent county. So
is it stopped short?
it doesn't look like it's very far.
From what I can see, it goes into 9 and maybe a tiny bit into 18 there, but not very much, not very far.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's pretty small compared to the other big rivers that go into the lakes.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. That would probably is not the best pick for that. I have to know what he was thinking on that one there.
Well, maybe he's thinking about the thing of, being on the coastline, having different ships and things come in, possibly, of then spreading, either the religion stuff or, researching different things, seeing what other people bring in and all that type of stuff. Maybe he's looking towards that direction a bit more.
That's playing the game a little towards the mid to late, though, because we don't know if we're going to come in with ocean-faring vessels yet, do we?
We know we're not coming.
Sure, I believe there is some people. I believe that's maybe what Bob or someone was looking into.
Yeah,
I'm saying that we're not going to have that right off the bat.
No, it's going to take a couple of years of research to go across the whole. We will be able to sail along the coastline right at the start. So we know that coastal, just running up and down the coastline will be a thing.
I agree with that.
So to give a little perspective there, the Seawolf Naval Works, which is the organization group that Count Black Bob has created, that is the long-term expectation. Is they're looking for transoceanic travel. But they expect that to take at least a year, if not longer. But it's the kind of thing that you need strong, sustained research towards. So, just 2 cents to.
Well, I can get behind that, but wouldn't you think if he's prioritizing research up there, instead of making his number 8 pick right there, why wouldn't he just place right next to 2 and 3 where Black Bob's going to be at, and maybe a number 4 or even a number 5, and get in that little Gulf area there?
Yeah,
why would he separate himself so much?
And that's an interesting choice, and I don't know. Maybe there's always expansion-like concerns with the larger associations or larger groups we have. Blob has quite a few barons and mayors associated with him, but I don't know. That's a good thing. I think a lot of this there's conflicts, like communities. The counts are representatives of their communities, and those communities really define what the count is going to choose or should choose or wants to choose. So you see something like Blob, and I believe he chose 2 coastal and 2 internal counties, and he's thinking the PvP aspect, the ability to support the ocean research and development, but he's also got to he's got 4 counties. He's got to concern himself. Does he stretch himself too long, too short, and all these? So there's a lot of conflicts that go into that decision making. There's no new county decisions. They've basically completed the county selection, but now there's a lot of conversation about what did we choose? What did we get? How does that affect our gameplay? How do we grow closer as community or as groups in those areas?
I think the main discussion is how do we spread out more and use more of our territory? Because I think we've gotten a little bit excessive clustering in the middle. And this has been a pattern in the first 2 mock selections as well. I think particularly in the very first one. This is a little bit of a repeat of that. You had the Duchess, and then you had everyone wanting to be kind of within arm's reach of the Duchess. And that left large areas kind of empty.
Yeah, and in particularly, again, like what we were talking about before, that mountain range up there is still very vacant. There's not a lot of people up there. Now, if you're looking down about 68, 69, 65, 64, 55, that whole entire major waterway there is just empty. Like we might have, again, people on the coast area here, and we might have a few people sprinkled out in the mountain way, but there is nobody there to move that product down to them, reliably speaking.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would be a major issue for us, like say up in Iskar, where I'm the chancellor. having those waterways, we would want to get the stuff down maybe to the lake, but we probably don't want to do the whole darn leg of sailing all the way down the river. Dwarves don't swim very well.
Well, if
and then
you're
sailing all
wanting
the
to
way back.
the thing
And
again,
iron bars don't float down the river very easily.
Yeah, well, that's where I think, Duchess was looking at with Togi and different things and getting all of that waterways, knowing, and having being able to travel the stuff from in the mountains down to the lake and different things. But yeah, for you up there's not much looking like there's many people there.
So speaking from the businesses up there are going to have to adapt to that. They're either going to have to do just pretty much in trading and then deal with the NPCs around them, or they're going to have to take on the challenge of moving product down to those coastways. And on top of that, the coastways are going to have to adapt because they're going to have no reliable transportation between there and there unless they take on the task themselves. Another thing that I've noticed is kind of piggybacking on how we have the cluster before is what happens if we can't influence the NPCs? What if we have these centralization, but we have these NPCs, and then as we start expanding out into them, they start opening in revolt? You know what I'm saying? We don't have a solid proof way to influence NPCs to accept a transition. So that could be really difficult down the road.
Yeah. Well, Iskar's plan, like I said, is we're going to put our loyal mayors to actually place in those locations. So they actually form the majority, and they can, from the bottom up, overthrow their NPC count, if need be.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about...
If people don't have that kind of plan, then it's going to be tricky to expand into another county and take it over.
I completely agree with that, but I'm talking more or less maybe let's say because the way we're set up right here, let's say in the hypothetical that all the empty counties here are NPCs. We don't pick up anybody else, which we still have time to pick up other counts down the road. But let's say they're all NPCs. We're looking at maybe 1 to 2 years before we look at number 53, 58, 64, right? It might be 1 to 2 years before we can reliably start getting into those counties with player characters. That's going to be established and well-developed counties for NPCs. For us to just go in there and just plop a flag, that's going to cause a bad reaction.
Yeah, the
or at the very least,
the Soulbound Studios, so
go ahead.
when we talk about propping a flag, like you said, that all comes down to that gossip rumor system, the fame, notoriety kind of things that you've got. So in order to go into an NPC county without a large military force and make, so basically what I'm saying is if you have 2 ways of going into a county and taking it over. One, you bring in an army and you take the county. Everything gets destroyed, or mostly everything gets destroyed. Very conflict driven. Second way is to go inside and weasel your way in more or less with their local population and say, look at me, I'm good, I would make a good leader. Suddenly they elect you count, or whatever that mechanic tends to be or happens to be, because it's different for every race for the NPC counties. And then suddenly you
every tribe, yeah.
jump in. Yep, every tribe. Yep. So that'll be really interesting. I like that's a good point there.
Well, that's what I was kind of saying earlier, is that since we're so centralized...
Yeah, I would really love to see some friendlies in the 64, 65, 58, just can get some control of that valley. And it is our border, as well. So,
yeah, what I was saying, though, is that it might take us a while to get actually a good hold over top of that, because we have nobody near there to start influencing the gossip system. Because we're all just miles away from it. And then especially around 4, 5, 6, 11, down there on the coast in the southwest, we've got nobody there for a county or two. And that's that's the coast. So that would be really important mid to late game whenever we start getting seafaring vessels. And all of a sudden we're knocking on their door going, hey, listen, we need this stuff now.
Yeah. Now, I would suspect that when it actually comes to the real map voting, which in 2 days, people are really going to focus on servers that have more waterfront, more map arrangements for the continents. Because we can see it's been desirable, and in this case, I think this is a best case scenario for how much waterfront you can get in the conclave. This group had more than most of the others, I think, on the map that was generated, and we could easily end up in a situation where people who wanted the coastline here, they find that there's actually not enough of it for them. I really didn't get any on the coast other than Bob and I ate there, but we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of all the counties coastal. Given the total number, that is a high portion. They just all focused on more than the other coast.
Yeah, we're gonna try to pull in a few of the counts who participated in this after they've finished with their discussion and see if we can get some more information about what they were thinking about and how that's going to affect us going forward in the next 2 days. Because, like you said, map voting is right around the corner. So how do we want to twist SBS's arm? How do we want to get those things that we're looking for? You know, that high percentage of coastal area, like you brought up, I think that's really important. I think that is going to play into the map voting, those selections, the map voting, at least for this community. Maybe other communities will be different, but, this community, I think that there's a surprising amount of coastal desire. And, if there wasn't so much coast on here, if that internal ocean, internal sea, if that didn't exist, I wonder how this would change.
Well, I think we got a fundamental problem right here, because I imagine I'm looking at these names and I can tell almost every single one of them is commerce or trade oriented. Look how many there are that are commerce or trade oriented that are just aligning that coast. Now look how many we have that are focused on resource gathering to get those goods to trade. Not like the numbers are just way in the opposite end of the spectrum. So now we're going to have a lot of, as far as commerce is concerned, we're going to have a lot of infighting and trade wars. Competition is going to be really, really tight. And I think that some of these counts might not be thinking about the top-down perspective, because they might go into a situation where they just shoot themselves in the foot right at the get-go.
And that's an interesting perspective, I think, because you have to consider, is a county pulling resources from its internal area? Like, do you find the resources to sustain, to have fun in your topic, in your county? Do you pull everything from inside your county? Is it how much of your resources that you need occur outside the county, inside the county? Is that because imagine if it's very hard.
Duchy too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even outside if it's very hard to move things, you have to focus internally. You have to worry about, can I pull everything I need from County 38? If I can't pull everything I need, then what does that mean? If it's really easy to move things, like we hope to establish, but if it's not that easy to move things, or if it is really easy to move things, then yeah, you get those establish those trade fronts on the waterways, and then you have to make those areas such that the background comes in and sorry, we're map bouncing around as I slave onto Utogi's screen here. But yeah, no, those other map selections, and he's showing pictures of the different kingdoms, and what we chose. Kingdom 1 and Kingdom 2 are the two that the current selection are taking place in. 110, 19, and 18 being the duchies selected for this action. Like I said before, the southern side 4-5 would be a hostile kingdom boundary, along with all that shorefront.
Yeah. Now, I think the overall duchy pick relative to the world map did make it likely that a lot of resources from the areas north of this conclave area would have to come through the conclave in order to trade with the south, or even to be able to be moved to other parts of the conclave. And I do expect that we're going to have trade even with our enemy kingdoms, because they've set up so much stuff in the tribal lore. It's like, this tribe makes this thing, this tribe makes that thing, and you may be fighting each other, but you're going to have to trade for your stuff. So if trade is like that, then our people don't need to be thinking as much as, I'm going to gather the resources. That's someone far to the north, far to the south is doing it. I'm just the middleman. But if not, and trade really collapses internationally, or it's very short, then you're right. Although we may have too many trading locations. Who knows?
Well, like just look at it though. Along the coast here, along between 56 and 15, right? Do we think that we're going to have a quote unquote major a major port at each one of those spots in that lake area? So if you think of it as the meta, like if you're on the other side of that lake, are you going to be like, oh, I have 15 different choices to pick from here? I don't think there's going to be a corresponding 15 on the other side, because what's going to happen is obviously people are going to have different porting fees. There's going to be better prices goer, and it's just going to centralize really quick. And if that is what a count is going in there thinking that's going to be their stabilizing factor, and they get wrecked, it's going to be really upsetting. Not to mention, if you look right there at 38 and 29, that's where Duchess is at, right? And people who are across the river may want to or across the lake may just want to go straight to there and have access to that major river going straight up to the capital, if the capital is more inland.
It's a very shrewd pick. Like I do like that the pick from Duchess, and you're right. There's I can appreciate that perception that there's going to be a high competition factor inside those areas. I love the Soulbound Studios responses to a lot of player driven creation, because they've expressed a mentality of everything is going to be a little different than what you're expecting, or a lot different than what you're expecting. Not necessarily the gameplay, but we set ourselves up with the mentality that I am going to be this, I am going to be that. But that's not always what reality sees. Like you're stating, if we have 27 or I don't remember the number you said, 16 trade locations on that inner sea, does that create too much competition for that internal sea? Once again, this all depended on the ability to move goods. Like, maybe it does.
Yeah,
Definitely
someone
could.
could just end up as a fishing village rather than a trading port.
Yeah. I mean, and
You
maybe
get 3 ports, and you're going to get 14 fishing villages.
and I hope the people who see that happen, either are understanding that and really do enjoy the game for what it is, a live simulation, the ability to make changes and interact. It's got a lot of things similar to Eve as the player-driven economy, and other games like Life is Feudal and whatnot, where there's not a lot of defined quests.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of defined
If I was
things.
to
Do what? Hello?
We might have lost Lodric there. We'll see if those technical difficulties are resolved.
Yeah, I'm just garbly, that's all.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, if you look here, though, and this is something else, this is one of the benefits of having so many people that are just primary in the coast.
Okay,
I think the best
if I'm
3
not
spots
garbled
right
anymore,
here.
I was going to say,
I think the best spots here be like 56, 38, and 15. All right. 56 is on a border, right? So he has the access to border trading. Might have to have some conflicts there if it's a non-friendly environment. But if it's a friendly, has access to ground trade, access to water trade, and then can easily move it all the way across down to 15, who may be wanting to push against an enemy territory. So that's a nice little supply chain there.
Yeah.
And then having all those ports as well, 56 to 38. 56 to 38 has access to the capital. So 56, I think, is actually a really wise decision. It may seem like it's a little far away, but access to
no,
the
I like it really a lot too. Because think about it, there's a huge land area that's Vornair to the northeast of the map here, stretching out there. Anyone coming overland, from whatever direction they come, the first thing they're going to hit that river, the 69, 65, 64 river, and they're going to go right down that river. 56 will then be the place of embarkation for a lot of trade along that lake. And if you're not going to go from 56 and then go to 40, you're not going to go to 39, you're going to go all the way down to 15 and unload there and go back to land travel. So 56, 15, probably very heavy route.
Now,
So here's a question I've got for us. With the land selection, map selection, we get to vote on the maps. With land selection, counts get to decide on their counties. Where does the burden, or how does the burden that different levels of leadership, kingdom, duchy, county, mayors, how does that reflect back on their player communities? So the king has to choose something that is not going to alienate or exile a large portion of his community. Same goes with a duchy and a county and a small settlement. You know, as we get into the complicated, they're wrapping up their conversations, but as we get into these complicated relationships at the kingdom, duchy, county level, where how does that push and shove really affect things, at least in your mind? I'd like to hear all three of your opinions on that.
I would have to say immediately that when the king makes a selection, that's going to set the tone. He's obviously going to make a selection with the input from those around him. The Council of Dukes, and the Dukes are going to give their information up from their counts. But finally, whenever the king finally makes his final decision there, it's going to set the tone. You adapt to that situation. You might have had your plan before if you're in your county, but now suddenly, as far as the map that's selected and then the access that your Duke or Duchess has and is going to pick, you're going to have to adapt. Unfortunately, you're a pebble in the bucket right now, and you don't necessarily get to call all the shots. It might upset a few people, but the king's got to set the tone. Where do you think he's going to go?
Yeah, clear expectations.
Yeah, I think so much. He's made a lot of signals, though. We know pretty much it's picking Kingdom 1 and 2. So it really all depends on what shape Kingdom 1 and 2 end up looking like. And everyone seems to be pretty happy with Kingdom 1 and 2. Broodveer are very popular. We've got our Herothi contingents, and then Nirans as well. And it's a good lore, consistent, strong potential for a double kingdom. I mean, if you're going for any kind of double kingdom on this map, the 1-2 just makes so much sense.
All right, looks like we're going back here to the map selection map, or the mock selection map. Let's see. I don't know. I think one of the major problems that they are going to have to address here is the centralization of the counts right now. If they don't address that, I can foresee some serious either infighting problems or just NPC management problems down the road. I think it's going to be a big problem to overcome later rather than soon.
That's an interesting perspective. I didn't even think about the NPC management side of that. If you're surrounded, say, by NPC counties or NPC settlements, that plays into your notoriety, your fame, your other things inside your local area. And I don't know what that's going to look like. That'll be really interesting once we get that info drop from Soulbounds.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of helped organize a little bit of, brainstorming and selection process amongst the Herothi counts. So that was Iskar, Balrog, Utogi, and Fergus. And we all kind of said, hey, this is what we want. And a lot of us, for example, we wanted 61, but Balrog wanted it too. And we kind of figured, well, okay, if you want he wanted 61, 67, and we're like, well, we were thinking initially 61-49 as a pair. Start in one, expand to the other. But we kind of massaged out and said, okay, we'll do this. You go with that. And then Utogi, he wanted the bottom. So it all worked out. And then we, brought in Fergus kind of at the end and said, okay, there's some scraps left for you. You can take 50 or 49 if you want even. But he went with 50. And then we were even asking around and say, hey, are there any other people who want to go Herothi? And there's 49 available for them. Didn't find any. But I think there's more potential, because I think there were some counts here who didn't pick, who did indicate mountains on their questionnaire. Was this one Nosgoth? Don't think that got picked tonight. And what else?
All right, let's see what else. I think they're wrapping up right now.
A Tutum? No, that's focus. Never mind. Marcus Curious. Did that get picked tonight or not? Oh, it did. He went with 56.
So
he's
right
the one who
now,
went for that 56 spot. That's actually, I would definitely give up my mountain slot for that spot. That makes sense.
all right, right now they're wrapping things up in the meeting, and we're going to be doing an after selection kind of interviews going on. So we're just kind of standing by for that right now. Let's see, Embryo, what did you think about all this? Whenever that was going on, like, what were your thoughts whenever all this stuff was going down?
I don't know. I find it all quite very interesting in looking at how people very much want the water and not even the coastline, but just kind of the more inland water. And looking at the different things, thinking about, like you were saying, they want to do the trade and stuff, but they also need the resources and stuff to trade, which if we don't have people more in the inland and in the mountains more, then it's going to be hard to do that. So yeah, we'll see how long and how well they're able to keep things going and all that type of deal. And we'll see. It's interesting looking at who would maybe make connections with other counties to get those resources and how all that would be traveled. And very interesting looking at how all the different things will work out. And, you know, like you said, who knows how it'll change. And it is interesting looking at like the 26 and 27 being surrounded and how people will maybe kind of work their way into those lands, or like 32 and 35 and even 34. Some like it's good little patches of that haven't been picked, and to see who would maybe kind of work into those lands. And
do you think it's
I know
more?
Utogi said he planned to expand into 34 as time came. You know.
Well, 34 is a little bit different story, but what Embryo was talking about on those patches of land, do you think that's going to be more of the counts working together to try to control the NPC areas and slowly creep in, or is that going to be a contested area?
I would take it as the counts would probably try and work their way in. I'm not sure. Kind of depends on the different counts and how they'd want to work with each other. Of like if it would just kind of be a neutral area more between them, or if it'd be like one takes over that area and then it's just kind of like friendly travels through there. Hopefully it's all kind of friendly, you know. But kind of what would be who would claim it in a way, and all that kind of stuff. So.
Alrighty,
well, here's
so
the thing, you know, it's like these places may end up with NPC counts. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. No, you can continue. We're just wrapping up as we start moving our way over to the after mock selection conversations. So, all right. So I am going to pull our commentators into the group with the counts and get some feedback about what's going on, what they're thinking. So if we have a little drop of vocal for a second here, that's intentional, and we may have to sort some things out, but I think we'll be more or less okay. So you're going to hear this drop really quick, and then we'll move over. So yes. And if we're missing anyone. Yep, no, we're still up. It's just a audio input switch, so everything should still be good on the stream. I'm still getting vocals from me at the very least. If you, yep, I'm still getting vocals from you. So, yeah, no. So we've gone through this mock land selection. We've got to see this beautiful map that Utogi created for us. I know we worked really hard on it. It is wonderful. I mean, round of applause for that. I can't thank him enough for giving us that media to do that. But we really want to get your opinion. You know, we went through this mock land selection, and where I wanna start out really is with what we've just done through mock land selection. How does this impact, first off, your choices going into map voting. Like, are you going to be looking for one thing or another? Like we talked about in the stream, coastlines seem to be really important on here, both on the inner sea and on the ocean. Should we be looking more for maps that are have high amount of coastline there? You know, what does this map selection mean towards map voting?
Oof, that's a rough question. There's a lot of stuff to unpack, and there's been a lot of information that's come out from the little exercise that we did. And this is Count Tiberius, for those of you that don't recognize my voice. Yeah, so, we have people that want to be Harathi, that want to be up in the mountains, and we have people that have talked about wanting grasslands and things like that. And one of the best things that you can do from a mock land selection pick is to create adversity. How do your counts interact with one another? Can they get past certain hurdles? Well, if I pick X and so wanted X, is there a compromise somewhere? Do I have to have X? If, somebody said I have to have Niran and there's only one county that has Niran on it, and I wanted Niran too, is it as important to me as it is to somebody else? So running through these mock exercises really helps counts understand motivations of other people, what the do's and dies are, and what is able to be slipped by. For myself, I'm pretty flexible. I've talked in the past about having something along the border so that there can be PvP with like enemy territory and so on and so forth. And with the pick that we had here, we really didn't have that big of an actual land border with enemy territory. And I don't want to have so much naval battles with foreign territories, which is why I picked kind of on the interior on that lake. I'm still on a border, albeit it's not going to be a hotly contested one, unlike where like County 1 is. We've theorized that County 1 would sit on a hostile border. So my pick has been a little bit more flexible. I'm a little bit more reserved away from a PvP area, and that's to give way to some of our other people who have definitively said that they wanted PvP, that they have more active PvP players, like Blob, to allow them some space to get closer to the border. And I feel that I'm still in line with all my other criteria of wanting to have a trade hub, having border access, and stuff like that. So that's why I went with 15, 16, and 21.
Now, one of the things that we kind of were talking about is we kind of were looking at the names, and it seems that everybody wants a trade hub along that waterway there on that lake. Now, what do you think are going to be the ramifications of every single person pushing hard for a trade hub?
So we have to remember that this world is going to be pretty damn big, that it's supposed to take a long time to get from one side of a county to another county. So we might find that our perception of what a trade hub isn't going to be accurate. We say, oh, well, there's 5 theoretical trade hubs that could exist within this world, but it might turn out that based on paths of egress and natural barriers that it might be double that. It might be less than that. It could be quadruple that. And we really have no bearing over that. So when people say trade hubs, at least in my opinion, when they pick, they need to say this seems like it would be a good place for a trade hub, and I would like to develop a market. For myself personally, being in 15, I'm going to try to develop as good of a market as I possibly can. Now, if that means I end up having a Dutchy-sponsored trade hub out of my county, fantastic. If not, then I didn't have the right area for it. But that doesn't mean that trade's not going to exist within my county. And so I think we have to be careful about pigeonholing ourselves any count by saying we're going to have a trade hub. We have to have a trade hub because trade is still going to exist regardless. It's just whether or not you're going to have basically a Dutchy warehouse of goods within your county. And if you have a place that's near you, another county that's within quote unquote 4 miles of travel or 4 hours of real life travel, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to try to set up some sort of NPC baggage train or something like that to get certain goods that you might not be able to get otherwise. The real issue you'd run into is if you wanted a trade hub, but logistically speaking, you are so far removed, like 3 or 4 counties away from a trade hub where you can't really access it. But with us having so much coastal area and so much water, it shouldn't be that hard to be able to get to a trade hub to begin with. So Anyway, I might have talked around the point. I'm not sure. I hope I answered your question.
Oh no, I mean it's fine. You answered it just fine. It's good. It's all.
So I want to give some of the other counts there to circle back. As we like I gave to Tiberius, like I gave to all of you. When we look at the mock land selection, do we feel, is anyone out there in our groups? We've got a few counts in here right now that feel like that this event has influenced their decision they're going to make when they go into map voting.
And this goes out to Black Bob Utogi.
I think this mock selection more than anything needs to shape the duchy pick. So it's difficult to say right now as a count, what you would pick off of a fake map and all that stuff. But here in very few short weeks, we're going to have the actual map to look at and actually start to look at some of these things. And you brought up earlier that water became such a big issue, and it seems like that's kind of a buzzword in COE right now. Is that water is so important. Both from an ocean standpoint, a river standpoint, all that kind of stuff. And you can see that in the conclave too. It's kind of taken a hold. In our last survey, rivers was the number one thing that people were looking for counties. So it's going to be important. But I think right here what this map did with it solidified what we already found out in the last mock selection that we did, is that we have a lot of loud voices in the conclave for mountains and frothy and dwarf stuff and all that. And they're all centered in a very few counties, right? But it's a lot of people. So when you hear the conclave speak every day, you hear all this mountain dwarf stuff. But when you see the counts pick, you see a whole lot less of it. And it leaves almost the whole duchy barren in multiple mock picks now. So I think we need to now learn the lesson from that. And we need to start picking a good transition from mountains to forest to grassland, right? If we have 3 duchies, we should take advantage of that, of the 3 biomes that we can get out of it and the transitions that are in between. And to me, that's what we just learned today again, was we solidified that picking multiple mountain duchies is not a good duchy pick, and this needs to shape our duchy pick.
An interesting opinion. Follow-up question for you, Blob, here. We've done the mock land selection. This is 3, 4. In a series, and we've seen wild swings, on any of them. We prompt our counts to think outside the box or react to certain situations. Do you think there's been, gains along there? Like, in my opinion, as I've seen these mock selections go by, we've done a very good job of taking into account the different things that occur in mock selection. Like you saw our first one was very striated. There was a big separation between one side and the other side. In the next one we saw some different things. In this one we see some different things. Like, we're moving in the right direction, right? You would say that.
I mean, clearly, just look at the laydown, right? If you took the map away and you just looked at the laydown of the dots, you would be able to see that we've got a much better spread here, right? We're not all concentrated on one end or the other end or anything. I mean, 3/4 of the duchy, we've got a good spread of player counties here. It's just that one duchy that's screwing this up. And I challenge that if we would have picked a southern duchy to go on to the bottom of this from a forest to a grassland transition, I bet you our spread would have even looked better, right? So again, that's the lesson that's learned here, is that people have learned from this mock process. They have thought about things that are important. We've talked about the things that are important, and it's clear that people have picked based on things that are important, like rivers and where trade hubs would be located, and how does one player connect to another player that makes a border connect to a capital, right? People started thinking about all that stuff, and more about who they're placed around, less than just like, oh, look, there goes a shiny, I want to put down there.
And I'm going to push back a little. I mean, there's none of the counts that we saw pick, necessarily skew things one way or another. Very valid reasons for each selection here. Now, I want to. We haven't heard much. We've got Jack Shadow. Jack Shadow. I don't remember the name you're using right now, Larry. And Sir Voight here. When we talk about land selection. Sorry. When we talk about land selection, did you feel like the event has changed the way that you're going to go into spending your IP in the map voting process?
So I only showed up for the last 15 minutes of it, and I missed the last one, which is maybe your second or third. I don't know. So I can't say that the process has changed my attitude. I talked to Insight and Bob prior to it, and so that the discussions have helped change like what I think is important, maybe. But I want to second what Bob is saying. That I am hoping that with 3 duchies, I've heard that there's 6 counties or something that want to be mountains. So let's not do 20 counties that are mountains and 20 counties that are foothills, and all 3 duchies, because I know there's at least a couple of other counts other than Bob and myself that would prefer, and the Duchess apparently, that would prefer the Narran grassland. And if we could, take 3 that go from mountains to the foothills with the forest to the grasslands, that would help. I mean, that would be closer to what I would want, rather than pick a foothill that's at the bottom of a mountain.
I think it's also beneficial to note that in the other picks that we had, it was a lot more divisive. We didn't have this kind of detail with those mock picks that we did, but they were still hypothetical maps, and we had like elongated duchies and more stubby duchy, and testing different picks and seeing how the counts interact with one another. In the beginning, there was a lot more individualism. Like, I guess people weren't really interacting with each other before that point, hadn't developed relationships, hadn't thought about who they might want to be around, and people were picking from a very individual standpoint. And what we saw is kind of what Blob was talking about in the early stages of if things were very clustered. Like now we're a little bit more spread out, although we were a little bit light on that northern duchy, which is a comment on the duchy pick, like they were saying. But in the early stages of our picks, and the first few that we did, it was almost barren. We were front loaded on one side or the other of our 3 duchies, which would, in theory, leave us a little bit less defendable. And as we've done our picks, things have spread out a little bit more, and we've become more concentrated centrally, which I think is important. So if you look at like the pick that we did now, we're a little bit more spread out. But where the congregation is happening is either close to our southern border, where we hypothetically for the pick thought there might be enemy presence, and in the duchy center, which is important, especially when you have Duchess placing there, and you want to create a buffer zone away from unknown, people that might be picking in as counts or NPCs. You want to protect your duchy center where your duchy capital is. So that's a beneficial thing to see from my perspective, is the way that our philosophy on picks has changed, and people are more cognizant of not trying to front load an area, thinking about their own personal expansion and spreading out a little bit more, and thinking about things a little bit more logically, and about the group.
No, not to interrupt you here on the personal expansion. Something else that we were talking about is the little pockets of counties that are kind of trapped in between all the other ones, such as like 26, 27, 32, and 35. Now, in a scenario where you have 4 or 5 different counts bordering 1 or 2 counties, is this going to create any kind of like strife? Is it going to create tensions, potential hostile trying of expansions and things there? Or is there going to be some sort of agreement between all those counts to divvy up the lands and or come to some other kind of compromise?
So, I mean, I could comment to this sort of, at least from my perspective on things. There's no duchy policy on this that I'm aware of that says we're definitively going to do this or we're going to do this. So I think it's important to kind of play things by ear and be flexible as far as the game is concerned. But the way that I foresee this is we're a community. All of us counts that have come in here are basically agreeing to work together for the betterment of the duchy, to the betterment of each other. If you're not within the group, then you're not important. I know that sounds awful, but just follow with me here. The group is more important. So when it comes down to IP and border creep and things like that, if I am next to Blob and Blob is a great count and I'm a good count and his border creeps on me, something that Duchess was mentioning earlier is that every like 10 years in the game, you're supposed to be able to redraw borders. But I think that's a manual process. So there's nothing saying that we don't redraw the border the way that it was originally, so that I'm still entitled to all of my lands, even though there was technically border creep. So though Blob could take over that territory because of influence, he's choosing not to. Now, to talk about a more antagonistic view of things, it has been stated throughout the kingdom and everybody else that if you are a count that doesn't do your duty, that doesn't do your job, and you have, let's say, internal strife that is going to result in somebody taking over your position because they've been able to develop that much influence and yada yada, so on and so forth, then there's not going to be intervention, at least from a kingdom standpoint. And I think that's probably going to trickle down to the duchy side of things, that if you are a count that is not doing their job and there's border creep happening, it's possible that they'll just let that happen. They'll let the borders redraw, and then you're losing your territory. But talking about the duchy working together, all of us having good relationships, and this is where developing good relationships with other counts is a important thing to do. Even if you're not as influential as somebody else, but you fill a very important need within the duchy and you are a team player, you're not an asshole to everybody, then I don't see why anybody would say, okay, well, when we have to redraw these borders every 10 years, we're going to make sure that we maintain those borders so that you keep your county. And so you're a little bit protected by the duchy in that regard, as long as you're a good good person, not a complete jackass. Pardon my language.
It's all good. Change kind of course a little bit. Kind of directed something here at Bob for a second. What did you think about how there was pretty much a total avoidance of the ocean, except out of there on number 8?
I'm fine with it. I tend to think that I tend to look at the ocean as more of a boundary than an actual open border at this point. I think that the transoceanic travel, if they do this right, is going to be, and they've said that it's not going to happen soon. So it's going to take a dedicated effort, a dedicated research effort, a dedicated crafting effort to actually get yourself to that point. So I think we're going to have a bunch of shoal water traveling. And I think for anyone to get out there to 5, 6, 7, or any of that area, they're going to have to go through the shoal water that's 2, 3. And I don't know. It seems like that plays right into my gameplay of sinking ships. If people want to be transiting, ships through there with people on them. So, I tend to look at whether if I'm going to be on the ground there in 2 or on the ocean there in 2, 3, on a foreign border, I tend to look at it as I'm going to be the gateway for people coming to Vornair. So, if you're not under a Vornair flag, then, sorry, and I think that that's going to protect all those counties out there.
All right. That's fair. I understand that completely.
Well, for just kind of a little bit of insight from both of our picks, we kind of picked backing each other. Because if you look, and obviously there's a lot of assumptions in here about the map, and there were comments made within the counts picks that everybody else couldn't hear, about how we have a lot of rivers that sort of lace through everything, and they all dump out on that lake, which the viewers on the stream probably don't know that that's a lake on the east side of the map. But it's one giant lake. So all those rivers come off the mountains and they dump into the lakes. And one of the things that Blob and I have talked about is for him to be able to do shipbuilding and all this other stuff, he needs to have access to those resources. So by me picking 15 early on, it kind of shores up him being able to get resources from the mountains. All these resources come funneling through all the counties, down through the mountains on those rivers, and they dump out on that lake. And then presumably the first landmass that they hit is right where my county is. So I can help pick up those resources and transport them across the duchy throat right there, and dump those into 2 and 3 where we're trying to build ships where they might not be able to produce as much stuff because they're defending the duchy from enemy territory, if the enemies are so inclined to constantly be attacking us. But so there was some philosophy behind Blob and mine's picks about where we wanted to place things. Blob wanting to be a big naval presence and mine not so much, but I wanted to be on the trade side of things, still be on the border. So I think we kind of went with a complementary strategy with where we're placed.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Voldus, you here, Voldus?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
All right, now looking at your pick, you have a landlocked pick there, number 16. Tell me, what was your thought process behind that?
It looks like it could be a good area for farmland. That's the main goal for what I'm going to do. Again, Tiberius and I could end up becoming basically one big county. So I'm going to just choose my first spot as a spot to farm all of our food and agriculture and then supply the rest of the county with that. That's my goal. So I don't need be on the border because technically we would still be on the border or the ocean.
So everybody knows Blob's about to go. He's got a flight in a few hours, so it's nice having you, Blob.
Thanks. Good job tonight, guys.
Yep.
Have a good night.
See you, everyone.
All right, so what you're saying, Voldus, that is you're going to be a support county?
Pretty much. I mean, again, Tiberius and I will be merging our counties together, so we'll be running it all together anyway. But we do need a big, at least between Eve and I, we're going to make our area a big agricultural center. Lots of farms, lots of residential area, big open happy field.
So one of the things that Vol and I identified when we were talking about that, and if you look at it when you zoom in, and we zoomed it in with Utogi, it looks like there's 3 little ridges that surround 16. There's one on 20, there's one on 21, and then there's one in the junction between 12, 13, and 16. And generally what happens with that is you create this sort of like valley where water naturally flows. And so the thought was, just by looking at the high level map on here, is that the area between those ridges looks extremely flat. And those ridges should cause water to kind of flow into it. So it should be an ideal location to create farms because of how flat it is and because of the natural water runoff from these little ridges. Additionally, it should be easy to create a cross section of roads between, it's zoomed in right now, so you can kind of see where it forms sort of a Y. You should be able to create kind of like a road network that goes through those that would fit the topography very well, and it would link 15 to 11 and to, I think that's 20. So it was an ideal location to have a support county that is producing a lot of agriculture, that has a good road network in it, so that anything coming from the Duchy interior hits 16 and then it gets spread out to all of the surrounding regions because it's ideally located in the center. And it happens to be a flat area that has natural paths of egress to the different areas that it would need to go to. So from a support county standpoint, it seemed like an ideal location. Yeah. And it fits what Vol and Eve want to do. And I don't want to be... Don't want to be overbearing. I talk a lot, forgive me. Vol's a little bit more quiet, but they expressed an interest in doing agriculture and, doing breweries and stuff like that. And
I'm still working on doing a boastful brewing guild or association or whatnot.
Boastful brewing.
Yep.
I would support that brew company if you build it IRL.
I think that's great. You should hear their motto.
Ooh. I actually got it from Tiberius. He came up with the motto. It's pretty good.
You've piqued my interest here. Let's hear the motto, and then I'm curious. Utogi built this map and knows a little bit about Soulbound Studios map generation techniques, at least in terms of the general information that we've been given from the public. So once we get that motto there, I'd love to hear some things from Utogi about the map, about the selection process, and everything else.
Yeah, well, the motto is "We feed your need for mead." So we'll have that on the back.
Get a little jingle with it. But yeah, so Utogi, when you generated this map, what are the things, the factors, the variables that we think we know Soulbound's going to use in their map generation, and what does that mean about 16 in terms of an agricultural bed?
So, with regards to 16, could you specify your question on 16?
So they mentioned that 16 they identified as a upper hill, upper mountain valley. They saw high spots on the eastern border of 16, the 10, 11, 12 side of 16. They just kind of expect that due to the geography, there's going to be a water drainage into 16, and therefore it being flatter would make a good agricultural center.
Yeah, so that's probably what would happen in this scenario. You have down from the border of 16 and 21, you have that hill there. You can actually see where a lot of the drain off would happen from 16 at the corner of 15 where they meet. There's kind of a valley there, and that would have been carved out by the waterways draining out from the flatland of 16.
So there we go.
So your model here uses erosion to actually produce some of these features and attempts to put rivers.
Yeah, this is all erosion simulated.
So all
nice. I always feel you need that in order to get a good map.
Yep. It's one of the fundamentals, you could say.
Yeah, no,
You were saying it's business?
Oh, I was gonna say thank you. Like you've put, I've said it a few times through the stream, but you've put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into the generation of this, and it's definitely paid off. It's a wonderful tool that we've been able to use here.
Yeah.
I'm glad it could have so
In
much.
fact, we've requested in ISCAR for Utegi to help us make a town, blow up map and do a draft town selection in our county.
Which was
mayors. Which was ISCAR.
Mm-hmm. So we'll probably work on that at some point soon as well.
Now, actually, Utogi, what we got you here talking, I want to talk about your land pick up there by the mountain range.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think I have a sneaking suspicion why you picked that one, but if you can't, go ahead and explain your thought process around that pick.
So, for one, it's one positive, which I didn't foresee because I didn't know Duchess was going to pick there. But Duchess ended up being in 29, 38, etc., all the way up to 46, 45. Which means 47 actually will be adjacent to the duchy capital, which I'm sure will be good for traffic and trade, though it'll be kind of off the beaten path. Probably need a separate road going up to it. Then there is probably the second or third tallest peak on the map. I mean, in this individual section, it's the second tallest, but there's also another peak further south. In County 48, you have a tall ridgeline. At the point of 47 on the northern side, you have a very tall mountain peak, and so it kind of makes a naturally defensive cradle, you could say. And so it's very defensible. It's close to the duchy capital, and then it also has a transition in a sense. It's probably about half mountain, and then you have alpine forests, some valleys down there, which is good because my mayors want to transition of them. One of them wants to be Broodbeer, kind of in the woods. Another one would want to be more underground, or for example, like my settlement will most likely be underground in the mountains, or half underground, half above ground if possible.
Well, my creeping suspicion was that since you're the High Elder of Knowledge, I was figuring you were wanting to put up some sort of observatory or something like that.
That's also a very good option.
See, I was thinking he plays Civilization too much and was hoping for those extra research points for being on a mountain.
Exactly.
Yeah, now, as a Harothi, they're the smartest of them all, of all races and tribes, and they make those illuminated manuscripts, I believe. So they're
that's what
they're very much the library bookworm, tribe in a sense, which is kind of a little bit of a contrast, though, with most people's conception of Beersford and dwarves. But it's I think it works here as a knowledge type.
It's interesting, Hrothi as the smart. It's been a while since I've looked back at the tribe write-ups, and I never picked that out. Like, I don't disbelieve you. Like that does kind of ring a. Well, that may ring a bell. I was one of the often hated, often forgotten tribes. The not Cryptids. Oh gosh, Kipik. Yes, I always call them Cryptids. Anyway, Kipik, known for their tinkering and inventive abilities, always struck me as very intelligent. The idea of you, Utogi, being a Kipik, sitting by this huge telescope. I like the imagery.
Well,
replace it out for a Hrothi.
Well, the Kippiker is supposed to be in Broadleaf, right? So they're probably not going to be anywhere near there.
Oh no,
Now,
That would
they're
be quite a
far,
bit
far
further
away.
south.
but for anybody who's watching, the how do I explain this? As the devs have said it, though the biomes are going to dictate the vast majority of the races that exist within that territory, and as we as counts, when we pick an area, we're going to have to go with the predominant tribe. So if you pick in Harathi, you're going to have a Harathi. But there should be, call them sub-tribes within the different counties. So you should have access to some other
Minorities.
factions. Yeah, there'll be
Yeah.
minorities, quote unquote, tribe-wise within those territories. But you might see a Kepik there, maybe. Probably not, considering how far north he is. But there are still possibilities that you might have mixed cultures within the different counties. So even though there's a predominant one, which is what we'll see on the map, you might see, if you pick Niran, you might have Broodveer and Drass if you're close enough to water. So you just kind of have to hope for the best.
The three biomes that will be in Kingdom 1 are the mountain steppe, a mixed deciduous forest, which I think is maybe something kind of like New England-ish, forest, and then a scrubland, which I think is kind of intended to be a relatively treeless upland moor type area. So grassy, low shrub. Think of it a little bit like parts of Scotland, maybe. And this is kind of on the flanks of the mountain. And I would suspect that the Nirans will be in that scrubland and in that deciduous forest.
I was waiting for the
Broodveer as well, probably from the adjacent kingdom.
Has anybody discussed the different races' transition of authority? So, for instance, one of the reasons that I'm more interested in Naren is that I'm putting some money into this, and after the first year, I want to be able to play it as my heir. And the Naren, the rule goes through bloodlines, and that's not necessarily true in the other races. Have people discussed that you may be building a county and you may be the count or the baron, but if you're in with a race where it's the oldest or the wisest or the strongest or the richest.
I think you're mistaken, though. That's only if there is no heir. If there is no blood heir, then they go to different methods.
Well,
if the blood heir is the normal succession.
Until it happens, I don't think we'll know for sure, but that's not what I read. That it's not bloodline and then other things. Each race has a different, that the bloodline is not the first for other races.
I'm pretty sure that's definitely the case for the Weird. I know that I'm pretty sure that's what it is because it goes, what was it for the Weird now? Because it was like a community kind of
the person who looks most like the leader.
Yeah, that's what it was. Looks most like the leader.
How do you decide that, though? I mean, do they have like a lineup? And
well, obviously, in the case of the Weird, there is a beauty contest with
hold up the card, turn to the left, turn to the right.
They're gonna line up like usual suspects.
Yeah.
Which one looks the most like? I can't tell the difference. Can we have 2 and 5 step forward really quick?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you know what's gonna happen? Okay. There's gonna be so many racial jokes about. I can't tell them apart about the Weird because they're all gonna try to look the same. Oh, it's gonna get bad real quick. I can just tell right now.
Yeah. We are the faceless.
We are Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, let's see, Larry, about your pick on, what was it, 41? Yeah, 41. Now, I want to pick your brain a little bit because you were one of the many fine people that have rushed to the water. And up there towards the north, you have a vast gap of non-player occupied counties between you and the mountain range. Now, how does that exactly make you feel that you're pretty much reliant on the transportation of NPCs between the mountain range down to your county?
So when I spoke earlier about part of my discussion with Bob and Insight, that's kind of clarified my position. The world is big, and I believe every border is hostile, and within my county it will be hostile. That part of the game mechanic is they're going to drop down in the middle of a county somewhere a group of Robin Hood that's going to attack people that are traveling on the roads, or a dragon or whatever. So I think that part of it is that people that don't believe that they can be self-sufficient to a pretty great extent are going to be unpleasantly surprised, because it takes a long time for information to go back and forth across the county. And so, I'm not upset about that. Part of the reason I want to be on a river is because I think that's a better, quicker, mode of transportation to get goods back and forth. So it doesn't, I would prefer to be having, inside on one side to the right and Black Bob to the left of me, and, people that I know and trust that are going to be there for me. I would rather they be closer rather than further. But if, I don't want to pick a mountain spot to be close to other people that have mountain spots, because, part of my fun of playing the game is going to be, I want a big city with laws, and in order to have laws, you need to have a large population, and that's more likely to be Naren, less likely to be Harathi or Broodveer. And I want to do agriculture, and being in the middle of a mountain is going to be less likely to be doing much agriculture. So, or the kind of agriculture that I'm thinking of.
Well, sorry to interrupt you here. I'm not necessarily asking you to move up there. I'm saying, what is your opinion on if you look at the map here and the different picks?
Yeah.
Like you have a whole bunch of NPC territories there in that section. Now, the NPC management is going to be a little difficult. And let's say you're trying to get the minerals or raw materials from the mountains down to you. Do you feel like you're going to be really reliant on the NPCs to get that down to you?
I think 90% of what happens or more is going to be with NPCs. I hope they have a really sophisticated AI. So
yeah, I think we're all right there with you.
We're all praise the crap out of me. So yeah,
you might not want to be so sophisticated that they figure out that they have a monopoly on the trade and start charging you an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
God forbid we get into a Skynet situation here.
Wait, I mean, also keep in mind that there are going to be other players that also have influence that they're not beholden to a duchy or anything like that yet. So, we're talking about NPCs, but you might find that it's actual players. And so they might end up being like, oh no, well, we want another player because, Joe Blow NPC over here is stupid and doesn't understand a trade agreement. So I'm going to interact with you because you're human and you understand 2 + 2 = 4. So
yeah, I will be interested to see how many people want to walk between my town and your town, guarding a caravan, versus the number of people that want to be hiding along the road between my town and your town, taking everything from my caravan. And I'm afraid it's more the latter than the former. But I hope I'm pleasantly surprised, and that huge numbers of players want to come in and protect my caravan.
Yeah, you're just gonna go down the road, and there's gonna be a line of people. All right, time to pay your bandit tax. What?
That's what I think. That keeps me up at night.
They're gonna go. Come on. Well, there's one right down the road. I can see him. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay him too. Oh shit, that's gonna get bad, real bad.
You just need a unified bandit protection racket,
those bandits
once for all the bandits.
I mean, if those bandits start gathering together and God forbid they unionize, we may have bigger issues here than paying a flat fee for the bandits.
Well, I don't want to play my hand too obviously, but at a certain point, I may be I could be a joiner. If you can't beat them, join them. It may be you may be seeing me in the line.
I mean, there's an added benefit to having rivers and stuff like that, and that would be the reason. If you have a lot of rivers, it's easier to get away from bandits by going down the river on a boat than it would be to be in a caravan next to the river.
Right. I think it's harder to.
Except for river pirates.
No, it'll happen. I just think it's more challenging to stop a moving boat than it is a horse and carriage.
I mean, you also have to think about, okay, so pirates, right? They have to be able to afford a boat, which I anticipate things being very, very expensive in this game. Like, it's going to take a lot of resources to build a boat. So, one, they'd have to build that boat. And two, it'd be very easy to identify and to catch those pirates if they did something. Like,
Yeah,
the Dutch, you could
Pirates
identify.
could just steal a boat, They're pirates after all.
Well, Logic earlier did bring up an earlier point when we were commenting on this. What if the rivers you can't really travel up river very easily? What if all the rivers are coming down from the mountains to you, and it's not so easy to travel back up them?
Yeah, no, that could be a problem. That's part of the reason I kind of like the lake and the ocean is that it gives you trade opportunities with everybody else that touches the lake or the ocean.
So,
the river
is definitely.
we have to be careful about commenting on water just in general because the devs have been very cryptic about what they want to do with water because we're supposed to be able to dig, right? But they haven't talked about being able to terraform water. So could you create a pond or a lake or something like that? Could you move water?
Out of the question.
Exactly. Well, but what I'm saying is, okay, so I dig a hole next to a lake. Does that hole fill with water, or would I just have an empty hole with a wall of water next to it because they don't want to have water physics? And my point of bringing that up is if there's no water physics. Go ahead.
You can't terraform, so you can't dig a hole next to a lake.
Well, then how are we going to dig holes in mountains? That's terraforming.
That's a mine shaft. That's a different thing. That's essentially you're punching.
So I start a mine okay, so I start a mine shaft next to water. My whole point will table the whole water terraforming thing. Not if I'm touching the dirt and not the water. But my whole point is they want nothing to do with water and terraforming with water and all that other stuff. So I don't think it would be outside the realm of possibility to say that the water is more or less just like kind of a feature. You put a boat on it, and the boat picks the direction that it wants to go. So you go up or down, it's on the boat, not the actual water. There'd be no directionality to it.
So we're shumbling into the world of wild speculation, which I definitely encourage and whatnot. But we're gonna be wrapping up this stream for our listeners, and if you're excited, if you like the idea of hearing more about the water physics and how that's going to impact the world of tunneling and or transportation, we are more than willing to gather a group of more or less knowledgeable individuals and see what we can speculate there. But we've come to the end of our time with about an hour and 52 minutes we've been live here. So if we can get goodbyes from all of our accounts, we're very grateful for your mentalities and buys from all of our commenters. I'm going to run through the different slides for the counties really quick once everybody leaves, just to set them up there so that everybody can get a quick summary of the different counties. We tried to put them up as they were choosing, but things happen very quickly. So we can get some goodbyes, and then we'll get to the outro once I've put up all the slides.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Night.
Yep. Good.
Have a good one, everyone.
Logging out.
Later,
Night,
folks.
night.
All right, everybody. So like I said, I'm gonna just go quick through and transition to all of the county slides, starting with, of course, Greater Alasia, that of the Duchess. Not gonna spend too much time on them. I trust that you will be able to pause the video if you want to see it a little bit longer. But yeah, this has been our Duchy Mock Land Selection. If you enjoyed it, please do let us know if it was something that you got some value out of, found funny, found exciting, that sort of thing. We do want to hear some feedback, so leave a comment below if this is our YouTube channels and a message. Light a fire. We do accept smoke signals as a universal form of communication. Also, dance. The language of dance is widely understood. I myself I don't speak it terribly well, but we do have interpreters for those those reasons. Once again, I just want to give a thank you for all the counts who participated in the mock land selection, both during the event to give us some information that we were able to give to you, our viewers, and after the fact with the review session. Once again, huge. I mean, I cannot thank Utogi enough for creating that 3D map. I know he worked on it for quite a while, and put a lot of good effort. Our High Elder of Community Management, Asher, helped with the preparation of these slides. Without his assistance, this would not have been possible. So thank you to him. Thank you, our counselors, Black Bob and Ella. Both of them put in a significant amount of time helping to coordinate information, reach out to counts, reach out to individuals, and support the duchy as a whole. It is by the effort of a community that channels similar to this are able to exist, and we just want to give our thanks for all of those. If you weren't able to get everything you wanted from your county slide, or if you have more information or more questions that you want to ask, do check out our Face the Conclave series of videos on the Conclave 360 YouTube channel. They are one-on-one discussions with our counts, leaders, the Duchess, asking about, what do they think about gaming? What do they think about the Chronicles of Elyria as a game, about community management, and it really gets some insights. If you're looking for a place to live inside the Chronicles of Elyria, inside the Kingdom of Vornir, inside of the Conclave of Aratar, that's I recommend that's your first stop to really learn some more. Jump into our Discord. We're more than willing to point you in a direction. If you like dwarves, we can edge you over to Iskar. They've got a very healthy dwarven community. If you're looking for something here, if you're looking for something there, maybe something with alpine forests, maybe something with coastal regions. Maybe you want to do this, maybe you want to do that. If you jump into the Discord, there's a welcoming committee that really is there to direct you to the resources you're looking for. And then if you're looking for more, or you're just looking for time to burn, maybe you've got a long commute, feel free to pull up our YouTube channel and listen to it. We've got a few members who have let us know that is their source of entertainment on the way to and from their workplaces. So that is always an option. If you find yourself on Sundays at, say, 4 Eastern, that's usually when we hold our Face the Conclave. We've gone through a large portion of our leadership, all of the elders and high elders. We've gone through a large portion of our counts. There's a few who, we're still looking to fill up a time slot or organize around their available schedule. But more or less, we've gotten a large portion of them. So do check out that resource as a individual searching for a community, and see if what they are selling is something you're thinking about buying. Once again, this Face the Conclave is our mock land selection. We try to hold these events, the Face the Conclave, every Sunday at 4 Eastern. So that if you're around that time, do tune in. If you're listening, if you're looking to ask some questions, then if you're looking to ask some questions, do post them in the Twitch chat. This has been a little chaotic today. We tried to keep in line with what was going on in Twitch, and it was a little more difficult since things are moving such fast pace. But if you post a question in Twitch, we usually try to get to them and ask it specifically. And yeah, so sorry. Yeah, and we try to ask those questions specifically just to give you a chance to say get your question answered and whatnot. We're getting to the end here of the county slides. Once we get to the end, we'll be going offline. But just last few thanks once again, Utogi. Thank you so much for the effort that you have put into creating that 3D map. All of the movement and management of that map was done live by Utogi, just slaved onto his stream's screen. So without Utogi, without that resource, this would not be possible. He did the wonderful job of creating the maps that we look at. So, as a final to goodbye, this has been Face the Conclave. I've been your host, Aspicis. We've had the luxury of having Corlone, Ambriel Flowers, and Lodric from Iskar commenting on it, along with a few of the choice counts. Utogi, Tiberius, Black Bob, Larry, I can't pronounce the last one, Viterius. But and very sorry if I mispronounced it. But this wouldn't be possible without everybody's support and help. And we'll see you around next time, folks. If you're free, if you're willing, if you're able, tune in, contribute, join the community. Bye bye.